Hi everybody, we're here in Eggen, Minnesota for the grand opening of Asphalt Viking Martial Arts School. And my name is Roland Watzecha. I came all the way over the ocean. And I'm absolutely delighted to meet my good friend Greg Johnson here, who is from the Oakshott Institute, but also from
Arms and Armor.
Arms and Armor. And we're going to talk about arms right now, but also about armor because Craig brought some very, very interesting stuff. So I see, so I take it these are originals and not artificially aged, right?
Right, yeah, these are originals from the Oakshott collection. We have 4 blade items and then a piece of period mail to look at.
Oh really? That's original, cool.
Yeah. Okay, this is about 3,000 years old.
Wow.
Bronze. And if you feel the edge on that one, you could probably cut yourself.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely. Actually, I think that's even sharper.
Probably.
Yeah.
Bronze tends to retain the edge better. I don't know why.
Okay, now this...
the oxidation only occurs as a green patina. You don't rust bronze.
Even, what was it in Tutankhamun's tomb? They found bronze razors you could still shave with, I believe.
So see, now this is something where I'm still struggling regarding how was it actually used and handled, because first thing that strikes you is this plate instead of a... I mean, you can hold it like this, but then of course, I mean...
It does have a ricasso for the finger, though.
Yeah.
Put your finger in front of it.
There is a slight ricasso here that is made into the piece. So
You can put your finger, that's what I do with those types.
Still, but I mean, this still bites...
With the Uric Park and the Wilburton, that's what I do.
Quite inconveniently, so this is why I'm still struggling with how... I think it's the tools that are getting nervous. Yeah, 3,000 years. I'm like,
Hey, I'm sitting here looking at a camera. I should be more afraid when he starts whirling it around.
Yeah, well, that's really amazing. Okay, so where's this
That's
from?
Nordic.
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah,
I see.
so yeah, the Nordic cultures were producing these, you know, just exceptional detail. If you can see that on the top where they've gone in with super fine tools and done just
oh yeah, okay, that's actually pretty delicate. Yeah.
Incredibly delicate.
But not to interrupt, but there is a saga where an ancestral blade is pulled from the tomb, and it's talked about it not rusting and looking green.
Oh really? Oh,
and it was
interesting.
used.
Oh really?
And it could be
And
bronze.
wow.
so his favorite sword was the sharp sword that had green, you know,
Oh, really?
incrustation on it.
Interesting.
So basically they're
That's
describing a bronze sword. The
Most
entire saga
intriguing.
describes a bronze sword.
Yep. One of the aspects of using these kind of swords that I think gets overlooked sometimes is how, you know, with the foreweight of this, you know, the thrusts become very powerful and it becomes very hard to deflect them in the sense of what a lighter blade would be.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so if we're thinking any kind of shield use with this, you know, that this becomes a very important aspect of what we should be looking at and how these pieces are used.
Yeah.
Definitely can cut, you know, in those kind of aspects, but we all know that the bronze is more susceptible to breakage than that. But something like this with this, you know, heavy centerpiece, you know, it's very much like a short stabbing spear almost in one's hand.
Yeah.
And
Well, this is really beefy.
Context.
I mean, you
It's
don't
much heavier
burst
than
the
the ones I have from Neil Burridge. I have reproductions of swords like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an Uric Park and a Wilburton, or Uric Park and a Wilburton, but that is much heavier. I was impressed. I was surprised.
This one, yeah. Well, yeah, you definitely have a range like my Viking training sword. That's about 800 grams, but 2 years ago I picked up a Frankish original that was twice as heavy. It also was a little longer, but then you wouldn't be able to tell from a photograph to pick it up and you think, like, ooh, wow. Yep. Certainly an outlier at 1.6 kilograms, but yeah.
yeah.
So is that rather typical weight for
relatively,
this? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I wouldn't think of it as being, you know, an outlier, but there are lighter ones, you know, and that's the same thing of there's a range. There's always a range of things you're looking at, and to make definitive comments on the small sample that we've got access to and are beginning to understand at this point, sometimes we make statements that are pretty challenging in the context of the reality of what you look at them. You know, sometimes we simplify things a little too much in our minds.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. It's like I told a friend, ask me about baseball or football. Really, I have no clue. And here, every kid has been exposed to it all his life. I bet even the average American housewife is an expert on baseball as compared to any European. So this is how. So it's like Europeans looking at baseball. That's us looking at swords. Yeah, fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, thank you a lot.
Thank you.
That was great.
It's good to talk to you again.
Give me a hug, man. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, this blade here is a bronze blade, and you said it is a Scandinavian blade, correct? And it does have a built-in ricasso right here?
Yeah, small unsharpened area right at the hilt, probably for hooking the finger.
That might explain the unusually disc on the back, disc-shaped pommel not being oval or anything. You still can use it though. You'll still be able to use it.
You still can. Many of the originals are
without
round.
hammer gripping like most people imagine.
Many of the original pommels are round. Some are oval. You know, it's one of those things that you're going to have very specific styles in any small region where they're producing them. You know, each maker is going to have a different way of approaching a particular object and how they want to accomplish it. They'd all be, in essence, trying to replicate the same piece in a way, but each one is going to put their own efforts into it in different ways. So it's one of the keys to understanding typologies of any of these weapon styles is that you can't just jam them into categories. Oftentimes you're talking about the nuances between things that are very similar but have specific differences. And are those differences artistic? Are those differences economic? Are those differences combat style orientated? Those are all questions you have to ask yourself when you look at a piece and say, how is this sword designed and made, and why did they make it that way?
It very much looks like the Newark Park that I've tested, or Wilburton, that Neil Burridge, he's a Bronze Age smith, that he does the productions, museum quality.
Yep.
And I do cutting with him. And one of the things that surprises me about this is he tries to do his on the lighter side of the fines. This one is extremely blade heavy. I mean, you get a nice heft to this, even though the hilt is bronze itself, and not like a wooden hilt like the ones that he attaches to his weapons. A lot of times you have to put a handle on it. It's still white. It has a blade presence. I mean, even with the weight and the hilts, you've got that blade presence. This would be an excellent cutter.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing would definitely. I'd love to test it. I know I can't.
Yeah. It's going to carry a lot of energy through the cut. With that 4 weight in the tip, it also is a devastating thrusting weapon.
And it also looks like it has blade damage. That looks like it could have come from other blades, possibly.
It could have, yeah. There's no way to assess it at this point.
It's true, because I've got wounds on my sword, like I'm talking if they're alive.
There's no curl that you sometimes feel, but but they are definitely kind of divots, whether it's a corrosion.
I have them on my sword too, and some of it was not from hitting another sword. It was from accidents that happened whenever you were testing it.
Yep. Yeah, and with the way you harden the edge on a bronze sword, it easily could be that it just chipped out at some point.
Right, because it is hammer hardened.
Right. Yeah.
After it's poured, it's cold hardened by hammering it.
Yep.
And the more you hammer it, the harder it gets, but also more brittle.
Right.
So you can accidentally overdo it to where your blade just chips.
Yep. Exactly.
And you don't want to go that far.
Yep.
And you're also hardening the outside, but the inside stays soft. Plus the tin, how much tin to copper ratio also has a lot to do with the actual hardness of the bronze. And you can feel this piece is extremely sturdy. I don't know how else to put it. Like you're talking about the ropey swords, but yes, you could bend it, but I think it's actually stiffer than some of the versions I've got.
Yep.
But they stiffen up over time as well as extremely old.
Yeah.
The older they get and the more use, slight bends and bending them back, that tends to help harden the edge up too.
Yep. Yeah, and the way that hardening happens is it's like if you take a deck of cards and it's stacked up flat, and then you push the cards out so they kind of rifle out into a very thin edge. That's the same thing you're doing with the lattice structure of the metal, is you're just basically kind of jamming it out, so you're creating tension between the elements of it. And what happens is that eventually that'll get so bad, it'll just snap off.
That's a nice length. You look at the length compared to my arm.
It's a relatively long sword. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it really, is a great example of combining the functionality of a bronze sword with the artistic natures of these things. It's probably a high status piece in its period.
You can actually see the bronze.
Yeah, you can see kind of a bit of the original surface there. The patina.
Corroding. Yeah.
Yep, the patina.
Yeah,
this kind of dark green is what bronze oxidizes as. Yeah. And that's one of the things that protects them. That's why we have this from 3,000 years ago. But any of these pieces that are left out in the
surprises, it was a pleasure seeing your what do you call it? Antiquities here. I don't know the proper term or
the oak shot
artifacts.
collection.
The
oak shot collection.
Oak shot collection.
Yep.
And it was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too, sir.
And I am Friend and Orville. And this is a very important and special episode. This is very unusual. I normally would not be testing an axe that's considered an artifact. This could be 1,000 to 1,200 years old. This sword worked. By the way, I have Neil Burridge at the current time from the Scandinavian find of the Burridge oak shot collection. We found an unusually large shaped sword, leaf-shaped sword. He's working on that at the current time, so I think that will be an excellent thing to test because we're not able to test the actual artifact nor would we want to. Later on, they actually had aventails hung from their helmets that we see. They had really intricate armor, much like I'm wearing, the splendid arms and a nail shirt. So yes, then again, I could see the extra weight being useful from behind a shield and the smaller head at punching through that stuff. Now, we're not going to be able to test this head that way. I have Adrian Watson actually making an exact replica of this head for me so I can test it in those ways. The edge, I have messed with the edge a little bit. It's extremely hard. So we have seen some of these in a museum, though. I wanted to add that in Germany that look very much like this, that are Viking age axes. Whether they're tool axes or fighting axes, they're shaped and made pretty much exactly in this manner. And much more what I expected with the first hit. It was just the way I hit it that it caused it to actually rupture the skull, and the way our spines work, it allowed the spine to come up. That was our problem. We got a beautiful hit straight in. Enjoyed testing an actual artifact or an old axe like this, and I bid you farewell.